Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancius. And friends, today it is just you and I. We are talking about miracles. I haven't gotten to tell you this story in full because it's actually still unfolding, but I wanted to come here today and talk to you about what's been going on because you all have been praying for my little girl, and I am just so beyond grateful. But there's so many things that I want you to know. Before we dive in, there's no intro, outro, ad today, unless this is not 53 minutes and then my editor will have to add things in. But I wanted to let you know that we are hosting a new Angel Reiki School in person. We've got September 20th and 21st. That's a Saturday and Sunday. And then we also have November 8th and 9th, where we're going to be hosting the Angel Reiki School in person as well. Those are both in Oak Brook, Illinois. There's about 2 carloads of big SUVs that I have to bring over all the materials with. And so I always host that locally, but we're right next to O'Hare and Midway airports. Really easy to fly in. The Angel Reiki School is where you get to turn on your spiritual gifts to the max, your intuition. You learn mediumship, you learn energy healing, you learn how to be a messenger for the angels in order to bring through messages for other people. And people come through the Angel Reiki School all the time. We've had over 600 people graduate through the program. And as they come through, they're coming through for different reasons. Some people want to build their own business, which is amazing. And some people say, Julie, I don't know why Spirit is calling me to this. I just know that I'm supposed to be here. And we don't just leave you that Saturday and Sunday. We have follow-up calls on Saturdays twice a month, afterwards for a couple of months, just to make sure that all of your questions, even after you attend in person, are answered. And there's a lot of online support that you can have as well. And that's all with me personally. We've also got a women's retreat, and this is going to be limited in size, but that's October 4th and 5th. Again, because of some of these health things going on, I feel more comfortable just being local right now. So October 4th and 5th, women's retreat in Oak Brook as well, Oak Brook, Illinois. And what we're really trying to do here is help you understand a couple of things. I want you to know, like with confidence, within your heart, exactly what your purpose in this life is. And not just that, I think sometimes people are like, well, Julie, I know my purpose. What am I supposed to be doing over the next 6 months, over the next year? There's a way to channel with Spirit to see the path that you are supposed to take. And that's what we want to do, is have you come understand exactly what your purpose is, why it is your soul's calling. Because when you really attach and find your soul's purpose, it's not something that you're bored with. It's not something you're like, meh. It's something that you're so incredibly excited about. And that is a different way to live life, right? When you're completely lit up inside and just so excited about waking up every morning and doing the work that your soul is called here to do. There's a difference in energy within your soul and your spirit to just be fully ignited with inspiration and joy and passion. And that's the intent behind this women's retreat, is to have you just so excited about life and your direction and where you're headed. And friends, Spirit is just saying to tell you, we're all meant to serve in different ways. So just because you come to this women's retreat, we're not going to put you to work in a way where you're like, oh my God, I feel like my life is so overwhelming. I'm doing so much. No, it's about really building your own heaven on earth. What does that look like? And that's what I want you to walk away from this women's retreat with too. So that's October 4th and 5th. You can find all of that information on the website, theangelmedium.com. That's theangelmedium.com. That's where you can sign up for the retreat. That's where you can sign up for the Angel Reiki School. And I know that you're just going to love both. All right, friends, let's dive into today's podcast episode. So, in this podcast episode, not only will you hear about miracles, but having been a mama who's been a caregiver when my daughter was really medically fragile when she was younger, and seeing her go through a lot over the last year, I've learned a lot of critical tools that I truly believe that with this info, it can save lives. You never know when you're going to find yourself in a situation where this information could help, mom, dad, partner, yourself, etc. Just by understanding how the medical system works, how we as energetic beings operate under medical challenging situations. So I wanted you to hear, today's episode is not just about scoliosis and a couple other things you're going to hear about. All of what I'm going to talk about can be applied to any different type of medical situation. And yes, all of this info is info that I learned through experience and really channeling with my angels as I went along. So to begin, one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten is this. If you need someone to operate on yourself or a family member, you want the best person who really only does this type of surgery. You want the specialist. You want the best. What you don't want is you don't want the person who's only done a couple of these surgeries. You want the person who does 25, 100 of these surgeries a week. Why? Because when you go to a specialty surgeon who has seen what goes right, what goes wrong, he follows up with his patients, or she follows up with her patients. She knows all of the nuanced little details to look out for that maybe the general surgeon doesn't, because they haven't really worked on enough patients to have that detailed info. I was prompted by Spirit to look up some statistics, and what I found is that some data suggests that 40% lower odds of death, operative mortality, when you really go see the specialist, that there is data to suggest what I'm saying is true, that when you go see a specialty surgeon, your odds of a successful surgery go way, way up. There's about a possible 30% reduced risk in infection or reoperation. And that's what I found too with a lot of surgeries is they don't always stick the first time. And if you're just seeing somebody who's a general surgeon versus somebody who's really a specialist in this type of surgery, sometimes you don't have to have those reoperations because they're so good at what they do. So here's where I'm going to start. Early December, maybe mid-December of 2024, I took my daughter to get her scoliosis checkup here just locally in the Chicagoland area. And I heard something that I wasn't anticipating. And I don't know if any of you can just resonate with this, but you're going into a doctor's office, or you're going about your day, you're doing 1,000 things, and you just expect to hear, oh, she's been bracing, she's been wearing her brace, she's doing great. The curves are staying in line. You expect to just hear, okay, the treatment plan that we've been doing is working. But that's not what we heard that day at all. What we heard was your daughter's scoliosis has rapidly progressed by almost 20 degrees. And what they said just next floored me and it shocked me. The doctor looked at me and he said, she has rapidly progressed by 20 degrees in this year. And if she moves just 2 more degrees, we'll need to talk about surgery, because once the curves hit, and she's got an S curve, so 2 different curves, once the curves hit 40 degrees, gravity starts to pull on the body. And over time, the doctor said, we know that these curves will just get worse and worse and worse by a certain degree each year until she need surgery. And I think that we as just a population, like look at the world and we're like, okay, if you have some major illness, you've got something wrong with you. But there's almost this stigma for people who have things that you can't see and people just aren't aware of. Like, I know my endometriosis pain was so bad, so incredibly bad. I'm not kidding you. I don't know if I told you this, but I went into the hospital a couple of times between last fall and last February, and they actually gave me morphine for the pain, the endometriosis pain that I was feeling. Endometriosis pain, it's no joke. They gave me that in the hospital. They gave me some really heavy duty painkillers, and I could still feel the pain even while taking that medication last year. Wasn't taking it all the time. It wasn't hurting all of the time. People don't think of endometriosis as something that really hurts. It's the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life. It's that endometriosis pain, to me, was actually worse than childbirth, to be completely frank. It's that bad and it hurts. It's that painful. Well, in the same way, the internet can be both a blessing and a curse. And if you haven't found this yet, what I do love about Facebook is that there are just tons, hundreds, thousands of little communities, groups for any different type of illness you could think of, right? So there's one for scoliosis, and there's actually a ton for scoliosis. And what a lot of mamas will say is just breathe when you are on these groups, because the people who are having success really aren't in the groups. The people who are in the groups are a lot of times the people who have a lot of challenges with their diagnosis. So I think that before I understood scoliosis, I would just think to myself, oh, like that really stinks to have these curves, and not really understand what the person was going through. But when you're in these groups and you're seeing these posts multiple times every single day about how much it hurts after a woman has carried children, and her scoliosis has gotten much worse because of that. Just aging and how much wear and tear on the body there is, and how much just these curves. You could imagine that your back is pretty straight, but sometimes it gets messed up, right? And you go to the chiropractor and you have to find ways to figure it out. Some people have these major curves. So I went home, I Googled spinal fusion surgery, and there are so many people who have spinal fusion, and they do absolutely wonderful with it. But what a lot of people don't realize is spinal fusion surgery is having metal rods, titanium rods on both sides of the spine drilled in to your spine with these metal titanium screws. And when a person has two big curves, you've got these rods on both sides, your entire way up to your neck, sometimes all the way back down to your tailbone. And it makes it very hard. You can't bend. There are a lot of people who say, Julie, I can't tie my shoes. It feels like being pregnant. You can't do things when you're in the car, when you have spinal fusion. I'm a fast driver. I've got a lead foot, right? And I just listen to my little rap music in the car, my 90s, my 2000s rap music, and I drive, and I love driving, love driving. And I don't use my rear view mirror at all. I always turn over my shoulder, turn my neck over my shoulder to look who's behind me. I've got a car where there's just a rotten blind spot, and so I don't really trust the mirrors as much. And people with the spinal fusion, they're like, you can't turn. You have to turn your entire body, and it's really hard when you have this titanium going all up and down your spine. It makes it hard to do incredibly much. So what I'm trying to say is, from mid-December when we got this news, I went home, and here I am Googling these pictures of, if you ever look up what are the 5 most painful surgeries, This scoliosis surgery is the number one most painful surgery, hardest to recover from. Number 5 is a brain surgery that I'm going to talk about later down the road. And you just see all of these pictures of your child having an operational cut from the neck down to the tailbone. It's awful, and it makes your heart churn. And honestly, it was like all consuming that I would start to wake up at like 3:33 every evening and just be like, okay, God, what is it that you want to show me? You want to show me something because you keep having me wake up in the middle of the night. And so I get up with my angels. I ask them, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to ask? And they say, write a post for Facebook, put it on your local Facebook moms group. I live near Naperville, Illinois, where there's a moms Facebook group. I think there's maybe 35,000 moms in there. And a lot of times you can post something in there and you just get answers that you really wouldn't have thought of. It's so helpful. It's just such a resource. So I go into this Facebook moms group because I keep waking up at 3:33 and I'm like, my daughter's scoliosis progressed 20 degrees this year. If it progresses 2 more degrees, she's going to have this major surgery. Maybe she even needs it. Otherwise, like, I don't know really what's happening. I don't know what questions to ask. I don't know who to go to in the Chicagoland area. What do you think? And there was one woman who wrote back. And she said, I think she's like a grandma or an aunt of a little girl who's had scoliosis. And she said, does she have Chiari malformation or a tethered cord? And it was like the clouds parted in the sky and you hear just like ding, 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 ding. That's it. The angels are highlighting this, circling this. And I'm like, okay, what is this that they're trying to get to? Because some of you know that my daughter was born with a certain condition and that we have always been on the lookout for, because with her condition, we knew this could come up as a teenager, this Chiari malformation. Now, this Chiari malformation is, I want you to imagine that there's a pulling on the brain in the back of the neck, where the brain and the neck spinal cord aren't fusing together. And part of the brain is starting to come down into the spinal cord. And what tethered cord is, which is another thing that we've been on the lookout for, is imagine that your spinal cord gets snagged at the bottom on something and you really can't bend as well. You just don't have as much flexibility. Well, depending on how tight this tethered cord is at the bottom, it can pull the brain down even more so at the top. And it can actually pull on the spine, where if you have like a long cord or a long string and you pull on it or you twist it at both sides, eventually that cord or that string is going to bunch up, right? It's going to get shorter and it's going to bunch up. And so for some people, what ends up happening is their scoliosis isn't just, oh, hey, they've got scoliosis. It's that, oh my gosh, they have the scoliosis because, or it's worse because of this Chiari malformation at the top, which requires a brain surgery, and this tethered cordness at the bottom, the base of the spine. And when this woman posted this on Facebook, and I had gone back to bed after I put the post up, and I woke up the next morning and I saw her post and I go, oh my gosh, this is it. I have to understand this Chiari malformation, this tethered cord better. So I reached out to this woman and I was like, would you be willing to just chat with me at all? And she's like, absolutely, absolutely. All of January, all of February, it was like a part-time job to research this, understand who to go to in Chicago for it, understand the symptoms. And then we start asking Elle, our daughter, the symptoms of these two things. because it can be neurological. And she's got a lot of the symptoms that we didn't even realize, we didn't think to ask. So we make this appointment. We go downtown. It takes a while to get appointments. You just can't get into doctor's appointments in my area right now. They are booked out. So in January, or December, we wait to get this appointment at the end of January. And they said, yes, she's going to need an MRI to see if she has this. We have to wait weeks to go get the MRI. And they're like, we'll call you after the MRI to schedule an appointment to talk about the MRI. Thinking, okay, great. Well, the MRI shows that she does have Chiari malformation. So now she's got to go get another MRI to see if she's got a tethered cord at the bottom. And so we go to get this second MRI, and they say, just in the chart, nobody calls us to talk about it. She does not have tethered cord. Well, this is the problem with just seeing a general office versus a specialist. The woman who had reached out to me on Facebook was like, you're not going to get good answers in Chicagoland. And I was like, I'm stubborn. Oh, why am I so stubborn? I was like, yeah, I can get good answers. We took her to the doctors here. Nope, you can't. And she's like, you're really going to need to fly to a different location to get the right answers. And she was telling me exactly who's the top doctor in the world and the number 3 doctor in the world are both in New York City. So we get the second MRI back and it says she doesn't have a tethered cord. And you're just feeling this gut punch, right? Like, oh, so defeated. And we didn't know what to do for a while. So I was trying to get her into different appointments. We got her into a couple of different appointments with just virtual consultations, people in the US and that are really highly specialized in scoliosis. What I had learned when my daughter was really, really little, an infant, and just in the hospital continually, was that if you have 2 similar things, the doctors don't often talk to one another. So my daughter had really, really bad breathing issues when she was just first born. She's completely worked out of them. But she also had very severe acid reflux. The breathing issues required an ENT doctor. The gut issues, the acid reflux, was all a GI specialist. Well, these people don't talk to one another. The ENT would just be like, well, the GI doesn't really matter. Yeah, it does. She kept having surgery after surgery after surgery when she was a little girl for these breathing issues in their throat. But then this acid reflux would come up and burn it and inflame this area, undoing what the doctors just did. And it would close her airway off completely where she stopped breathing and coded a couple of times. So I learned when she was really young, you can get the doctors to talk to one another. You have to be the facilitator of that. A lot of times they don't do that for you. They just don't. Well, that's a lot easier to do when you're inpatient in the hospital. But when you're not inpatient and you're trying to figure out all of this from home, it's crazy. Like, it's insane. And so what I did was try and get my daughter in for 2 opinions in New York City with 2 of the best back surgeons. And what I had wanted was to get my kiddo in the same trip for 2 opinions from 2 of the best brain surgeons for this Chiari malformation. Well, I got the appointment with the 3rd best doctor in New York, and I'm not going to say doctors' names. Hey, if you are going through this with your kid and you want information, I will do a write-up sheet for you. Anybody who emails in, I will send you all of this information, but I just don't think it's respectful or right to put doctors' names out there. So I just don't feel comfortable with that. But if you email me privately and you want that information, heck yeah, I'll send it to you. I will say I loved Cornell. Is it Wiley Cornell out there in New York City? I think the world of them. I think NYU Langone is just incredible as well. And there's one other one that begins with a C as well that's out there in New York City. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay. But I knew from being in this Chiari Facebook group for just people with Chiari that the number one doc was hard to get into. So I called every single day. I had been calling since March, but I called every single day in July to get an appointment. They asked me to submit paperwork, get the images in right away. I had everything done within 24 hours and turned back in. And I kept calling after that, calling. Just couldn't get this appointment with the number one Chiari brain doc in the world. So it's the night before we're about to go on our trip, and I hear my angels come in, and they said, Julie, go on the Chiari Facebook group for moms and just write a message and say, hey, we're going out. We're seeing these two back doctors. We're seeing this one brain doc. What questions would you ask? Here's the questions that I'm thinking of. Am I missing anything to ask these doctors? Because that's the other stuff with medical situations is like, you don't know what you don't know. And you have like 10 minutes with folks, right? And these doctors, and you're just like, trying to understand what they're saying because you didn't go through medical school. You have no idea what you're talking about, right? And so you have 10 minutes with these doctors. You're trying to ask the best questions, but sometimes mamas who have been through it were like, ooh, wish I would have really asked this. So I put that post up, and at the very end in that post, I said, for those of you who are going to ask me, yes, we tried to get into the number one doc. I wrote his name, and I said I called the office every single day. I couldn't get in. And so I went to bed. The next morning, my husband is like, who's this? The doctor had sent him. Honestly, I have all of the emails go to Blake's email because I get so many emails that I sometimes miss things from the doctors, but my husband gets like 5 emails a day, so he always catches things. So the doctor, the number one doctor, number one brain surgeon for this in the entire world, sent my husband an email that night after we had gone to bed. And he said, I am so incredibly sorry that he's like, I see in your chart, you have been calling since March to get this appointment. He's like, I will bend over backwards to get you in the office while you're here. And I was just so appreciative. I just cried that morning because I felt like, okay, we are seeing 2 of the best back docs, 2 of the best brain surgeons. Like, at least she's going to be in the right hands. We're going to go out there. We're going to figure this out. We're going to know. We're just going to know, right? And I was packing for New York, and I kept hearing they're going to want to do another MRI. I think I might have even mentioned that on the podcast a couple of times. They're going to want to do another MRI. Kept hearing that. Well, we get out to New York. We go to see the first 2 back doctors. And the back is so interesting because I talked to you about fusion surgery, how they do fusion surgery, but there's this new innovative technique over the last 10 years that's called VBT. Don't exactly know what it stands for. Can't remember. But the essence is instead of 2 titanium plates being screwed into the spine, what they screw in instead, it is like a very flexible but firm, think of like a big rubber cord, right? Well, there's VBT surgeons. That's who we were taking her to because if you use that instead of the titanium, yes, you still have these metal screws in your spine, but you regain flexibility. You retain that flexibility throughout your entire life so that when she's driving, she can turn her head in the car to see what's happening. And that's what I was really, really praying for this year is, oh God, if she has to do this, let her just have to do the cords, the VBT, not the fusion, because I just want her to retain that flexibility. So we go to see the very first doctor. And he honestly didn't have the newer images. I found out that there's also, if you have to do x-rays often for your body, there's a newer x-ray machine. It's called an EOS machine. And it's so much more simple. It gives off 85% less radiation. And for kids who constantly have to be getting MRIs or imaging like x-rays, it's really important to me as a mama that she's with the best technology, she's getting the least radiation possible. Think about that stuff. I'm concerned about that stuff. So I loved that the next day, we're going to see this doc who could do this EOS x-ray right there. So we went in, we talked to this doc, and he's like, honestly, I could schedule the surgery for next week if you guys wanted to do it for next week before she gets into school. And we were like, no, too fast. We just like wanted to hear all of the opinions. So we go for the second appointment to the back doctor, the VBT surgeon, and he does this EOS x-ray. We find that he measures her curves slightly different than they did in Chicago. So whereas in Chicago, they measured her curves at 38 and 39, he was measuring both curves at 35. And he's a doctor who says like he has scoliosis himself, which is why he became a doctor in it. And he talked to us about how he really wouldn't do anything right now. My concern was they really only like to do that VBT surgery when a child is still young and growing. And he goes, that's old data. He goes, I can do this surgery when they're in their 20s, when people are in their 30s. It doesn't matter anymore age. And that was really my fear over the last 6 months of like, oh my God, this has to happen. And this has to happen now because she's still growing. And if she misses this window, oh my gosh, did I just like mess up my kid for the rest of her life? He's like, no. Time is on your side. Everything's okay. Well, before he had even come in, one of his nurses said, is there a family history of scoliosis in your family? And I immediately, no. And nobody had asked us that before. Is there a family history? And my husband goes, well, actually there is. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like this would have been good information to have. Well, it turns out that his sister has scoliosis. And so I ended up reaching out to her and asked her if she could send me an image of hers if she had one curve or two. And her curves are exactly like they mirror my daughter's. The curves are the exact same curve in the exact same way, two curves. And yet his sister's is about half of the degrees that my daughter's is. So lighter curves she has than my kiddo. Well, when I'm talking to my sister-in-law, I also find out that genetically, and my kid just like, they look a lot alike. Their body shape is identical, right? Genetically, they both resemble one another a lot. And my sister-in-law said, well, one of the other things that you should probably know is that I have genetically soft bones. And I was like, I didn't even know that's a thing. Who thinks of this stuff, right? Like, who actually thinks of this? So I'm in New York City. I go to bed and I can't sleep, right? So I go on the Facebook groups and there's a place where you can just search things. And I start searching genetically soft bones. And sure enough, you know what comes up in this group is over and over and over again, post after post after post. Oh my gosh, they took my kid into surgery. They opened them up from their neck down to the bottom of their spine. They found that they had soft bones, couldn't do exactly what they wanted to do for the surgery, had to do it differently, modified, wasn't as great. Well, come to find out that some people, their bones more firm up by the age that they're 25, 26, 27. And sometimes waiting to do the surgery until then for those types of kiddos makes the surgery more successful, just from what I'm reading. Now, this isn't from doctors. This is just from mamas talking to one another. And I'm sure doctors would come in and be like, Julie, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, well, then show me why there are all these posts, out there. The other thing that just blows my mind is my kiddo has had earrings, right? Her ears pierced, and rejected earrings where her ears have like a metal allergy, right? So one of the back surgeons that we were in talking to, the very first one, was like, does she have any metal allergies? Well, they don't all ask that, I found out. Not all doctors before you go in and get surgery, not all ask you, do you have a metal allergy? If we're putting all of this metal into your body, it seems to reason that we should test all people. I think that this should just be standard practice in a hospital. If you're going to have all of this metal within your body, remember women in the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s talking about breast implants and like them not realizing that they had allergies to silicone and stuff. And so they were getting really, really sick from their implants. Why the heck aren't we testing all human beings before putting all of this metal into their physical bodies for metal allergies? That was another one that I was like, oh my God. And I didn't know, like, where do you even go to have your kid? Because the surgeon was like, I don't know where you go, but I would have her tested if she's rejected her earrings a couple of times, have her tested for these metal allergies. Well, long story short, I'm going to go on with the story because there's a lot more miracles in here. But I got home, I went for a walk with a friend. Spirit's like, call up so-and-so, go for a walk. So I did. And I'm telling her this. And she's like, Julie, one of my closest friends has metal allergies. She'd know exactly where to get tested. I'll just give her a call. I love when Spirit just makes your life so much easier by like listening to your intuition and following up on those things, because that's the way life should be, right? Where you're just following what Spirit is showing you. And not everything's perfect, but putting up that Facebook post at the very beginning, understanding that the scoliosis could be much worse because of this Chiari and this tethered cord was huge. So when you follow your intuition, a lot of times people are like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know why Spirit would wake me up at 3:30 in the morning to put up this Facebook post. Don't question it. Don't question it. If it is your intuition and it's that soft, still voice within you, just go do what they're asking you to do. If it's a loving and positive thing, they're trying to get you to the answers that it is that you need. Did I tell you too? I told you like that this Chiari doctor that we really, really want to get into, the number one guy, he was like, I'll bend over backwards to get you in. So the day before, we go see the number 3 Chiari doc in the world. And we go into his office and just completely dismissive. He was like, nope, Mom, your research, nope. And I left feeling like, really? Like, then why did my intuition feel so strong about all of this? And I really felt defeated. So that night, Elle is a theater kid. And actually, I don't know if you remember Carly Arbuckle. She used to be a healer on my team. I don't have a team of healers anymore. I just, with everything happening this year with the surgeries and all of this, I just didn't have time to manage it anymore. But Carly Arbuckle is someone that is a theater person. And then she went through the Angel Reiki School. And then she really loved human design. So she decided to bridge being able to channel messages and human design. And I've hired her to work with Elle a little bit over the years, just on like nailing auditions and theater, because that was Carly's kind of former thing. And over the years, Carly's one of my close friends. And she's like, oh, your daughter's a manifester. And so if you've heard me talk about that on the podcast, it's so true. My kiddo is an incredible manifester. I can manifest, but I'm a generator. So I'm constantly creating, and I am a data person. I need all of this data to make decisions. But Carly always talks about how Elle is a manifester and that she can manifest things instantaneously out of nowhere, which is so true. Just to give you a small little example, because this stuff happens all the time. The very first time I noticed this was when Elle was in kindergarten, and I had just started my business doing readings. I had readings set up for the day. Actually, one of the readings was for like Elle's best friend's mom. And so in the morning, I wake up, I'm making Elle breakfast, and she's like, Mom, do we have any blueberries? And I'm thinking, at the time, we didn't eat blueberries. I'm a raspberry person. I'm a strawberry person. I'm a blackberry person. I'm a mango person. But I don't know. Sometimes the texture of like a blueberry, I don't know what it is. So I was like, Elle, we don't have any blueberries. She goes, oh, I'd really like some blueberries. So I think, okay, go over to the fridge checklist. We'll put it on the list. We'll get some blueberries for next time. And she's like, we can get some, right? Absolutely, Elle. We can get some blueberries. So I take her to school, come home, and what did you know? My first client that comes through the door is holding, in the Midwest, sometimes we go to Michigan, and you get this massive, massive carton of blueberries. First client walks in with this massive carton of blueberries. Like that is my daughter in a nutshell. She can like want something and it materializes right for her in the wildest ways. It happens all the time that I just call Carly now and I'll be like, listen to this. She's like, not surprised. Listen to this. Not surprised. And she's like, Julie, when are you going to get it through your head? Your daughter's a manifester. And I'm like, it feels like magic. It feels like magic what my kid can do. It's incredible. Okay, so it's the last night that we're in New York. We've talked to 2 back surgeons. Both of them have given us completely opposite opinions. I would do the back surgery tomorrow, and the other says I would not do the back surgery until she's 25, 26, 27. Her bones are more solid if she has soft bones. Okay. We go to the other brain surgeon. He says, no. It's not Chiari. It's just scoliosis. Okay. So Elle is in love with the musical called The Outsiders. For 8th grade, she had to read this book, The Outsiders. It was a movie in the 80s. Watching this movie for some reason sparked her to watch like all 80s movies. And she goes around the house just saying all the time, she's the coolest kid in the entire world. I love that she's my daughter because like if she wasn't my kid, I would just look up to her and I would just want to be friends with her. She's just so cool. She reminds me too of my best friend, Sarah, from college that I've had on the podcast because Sarah is just the coolest person in the entire world. Anyway, we're at this movie or this musical, The Outsiders on Broadway, and we found out the last time that we went to New York City, there's not a lot of alleyways for actors and actresses to exit the building. So instead, what they do is they come out the front and they sign autographs. So we get the poster, we go to see this play. It is phenomenal. We are shocked because as it's ending and they're doing bows, they're like, wait, we've got a big surprise for you. These Tony-nominated songwriters come out who wrote the songs. They tell the most beautiful stories. They play for like 45 minutes, an hour, and the entire cast is up on stage. It's just so cool. We've got the poster. Afterwards, we run outside to get these autographs because Elle just really wants to hang this up in her room. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you before. Elle goes around the house saying all the time, God, I was born in the wrong time. I should have been born in the 70s. I was born in the wrong time. I should have been born in the 70s. I'm like, dude, I wasn't even born in the 70s. She's like, I just would have been the best teenager. I would have had the best time in the 80s. This is what she says, right? She's just hysterical. So we're outside and only 2 of the cast members come out, but Elle has drawn pictures of every single person in the cast. She took time for like 3 months to draw out every single person in the cast. And she was just like ready to like hand it and give it to each one. And only 2 people come out. And she just really wanted to meet some other folks. So we're waiting out to the very last second and only these 2 people come out. And she's just like, I wish we could stay another night. I wish we could come back. Can we come back to New York, Mom? Can we please come back to New York? And I go, oh, well, there's a Marriott marquee right across. We're Marriott people. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but instead of getting the lake house, what we ended up doing was buying into Marriott Vacation Club. I really haven't talked about it on the podcast because I don't know if it's a good investment or bad. So I like to try it figure things out in my own life before I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing. Because I don't know if it's good or bad, right? But we're Marriott Vacation Club members. And so we would stay at the Marriott Vacation Club in New York City, but it's a walk from Broadway. So I was like, let's just go and check out the Marriott Marquis. It's right overviewing Times Square and where the ball drops. And I said, and let's just check out the area a little bit. Where would we stay if we came back? So we go and we check out the Marriott Marquis and we're like, yes, this is a beautiful hotel. And then we go have dinner over there. And then we head back to our hotel. We pack everything up. We bring all of our luggage the next day to the final meeting with the number one brain surgeon for Chiari in the entire world. And really, I'm expecting to go in and I start the conversation with, yeah, we just went to the number 3 guy yesterday and he told us that it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's just really the scoliosis. And the guy knocks me off my feet, just completely blows me away. And he goes, I don't think that that's true. He goes, I work with all of the kids that have this same genetic condition as your daughter. And he said, I have been waiting for a case like your kiddos. It is perfectly aligned with just how the complexities work and what's happening. I know that this sounds complex, but just track with me here. Okay, Chiari's at the top by the brain, then you have the scoliosis in the middle, and then you have the tethered cord at the bottom. Well, what a lot of doctors believe is that if you have a fluid-filled sac on the spine, they call it a syrinx, that if you have that fluid-filled sac, then it's probably causing the Chiari or the tethered cord is causing a worsened scoliosis. He goes, but I don't think that that's true. He said, Julie, I think that all of your research is spot on and what you're thinking. He said, I think it is tethered cord, and I think we need to do another MRI, which is what the angels had been saying from the get-go. And he said, not just that, he said, I've written over 80 papers. And he said, I've been waiting for a case like this because I think that what we're going to show and what we're going to see happen in L is if we do the tethered cord surgery, possibly the brain surgery, we're going to see that her spine gets a lot better without spinal surgery. And he said, I've been waiting for a case like this to be able to prove to all of the other doctors in the world that you don't have to have this fluid-filled sac on the spine in order to make the spine better with the tethered cord surgery, possibly the brain surgery. Holy moly. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God. That's what this is. Elle's case is going to change lives. And I truly believe that. I believe that with all of my heart. So we said, okay, what kind of MRI does she need to do? Okay, well, she needs to do this prone MRI where she's laying on her stomach because that's how they can see the tethered cord more. And sometimes it's not a traditional tethered cord, but it really is very, very tight. Getting images from one place to another, state hospital to a different hospital in a different state, it's like pulling teeth. It is the worst thing in the entire world. Our hospital here in Chicago will not do any CDs that they ship out to other places, and it's a nightmare. So I go, okay, well, if she needs this, there is no one else I'm doing the surgery with than you. Could we do this MRI with you? And they go, oh, I'm so sorry. The MRI imaging area, they back out for a really long time. You could go down there and maybe there's a shot that you get in for this MRI, but just don't get your hopes up. So I leave this doctor's office feeling like, oh my God, we're in the right hands. We're with the right person. He has seen everything that I've been researching. You know, exactly what he's saying is what I thought with my intuition. And so we go down, I run down to the 3rd floor. Now, meanwhile, we've got all of our luggage and it looks like we're moving into the hospital because we're carrying so much stuff. Go down to the 3rd floor, I tell them the situation. Is there any way possible you can get us in for this MRI? And they go, you know what? We could get you in for Friday morning. It's Wednesday afternoon. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Like I am like freaking out. Oh my God. Yes, we can do this. So I changed the flight. I get the paperwork we need. I stay at the hospital until everything goes through with the insurance, even to make sure that insurance is paying for this and everything's covered. And we knew that we were going to go in for this MRI, and then the doctor was going to go on vacation. We couldn't get in to see him. He's going to be on vacation for 2 weeks. No problem. At least we got the MRI done. Well, lo and behold, do you know what my little manifestor did? We ended up getting an extra hotel room for those extra nights at the Marriott Marquis that overlooks Times Square. I didn't even think that we'd get like a good view, but just checking in, the guy's like, what, would you like a view of Times Square? So I was like, okay. We go up and you're looking at Times Square where the ball would drop, right? And you see all of these lights and it's just so cool. And Elle had wanted to see the show Heathers. So we went to go see that musical, and we waited every single night by the outsiders' doors to catch the rest of the people as they came out. She got all the signatures that she wanted, ended up using points that we had for the airplane home, points for the hotel. So everything was comped to stay those extra couple of nights. It was just like a miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And the way that this all kind of turned out was that we're still waiting to hear back from this doctor. He's on vacation for 2 weeks, so we won't know his opinion. But when the MRI came through with the findings, I put that information into ChatGPT and I just said, is it saying that she has a tight cord? Spinal cord. And it said, absolutely. It shows that very, very clearly that she has a very, very tight spinal cord with this new prone MRI. And I thought, holla frickin' Luya. We are in the right doctor with the right doctor in the right hands. And this is a freaking miracle. So that is the story. Sorry, it's a little long, but I just want to remind you that miracles are possible. Listen to your angels because they are directing you to miracles, I promise you. And don't forget, friends, if you want to be able to do this work, develop your intuition, learn mediumship, energy healing, become certified in all of these, and also be a certified angel messenger, come to the Angel Reiki School September 20th and 21st in person. We also are hosting it November 8th and 9th in person in Oak Brook, Illinois. All of that information is on the website, theangelmedium.com. And I'd love to help you turn on your intuition to the max, right? Even if you don't know why you're being called, I promise you that happens all the time and you will be shown. It's just a matter of attending. And don't forget, you can take the Angel Reiki School online as well. You do not have to attend in person. I work with everybody online the same way that I do in person. We just meet over Zoom. That's it. We've also got the women's retreat with a limited number of people available due to the room size. That's in October 4th and 5th in Oak Brook, Illinois as well. October 4th and 5th, women's retreat. You're going to know your purpose. You're going to know why you're here on earth. And you're going to be so excited about your life. So incredibly excited. So I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's prayed over the last year. I will keep you updated on everything that's going on and what we're doing as we do it. But I wanted to share this story with the permission of my kiddo, so that you understand how complex all of this is for your own life, and that you really get to multiple different opinions in order to get the right doctor who understands and validates your experience. I love you so much, friends. Sign up today for a session with me or any of the stuff that we talked about today over at theangelmedium.com. Love you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day.